tell, you know
Uhuru
what?
is a very good listener. Very good listener. But also, one thing I appreciated about Uhuru is when he sees a good idea, he hears of a good idea, he'll take it up like that. No matter where that idea comes from, even if it is from an opponent or his critic, he would say, I like that. I remember as a young parliamentarian, I once went with 2 bills to National Treasury. I mean, I had filed the bills, and because they had huge implications on the budget and whatnot, so he called me to the National Treasury. One bill was on Retirement Benefits Act amendment, so that younger people could access their benefits earlier in terms of investing, the way it's done in other countries. Here, everything is locked. And the second bill was about, assisting the young people in Kenya to access, opportunities in procurement. What is now called the AGPO Act. That I'm the one who initiated that. And I brought a bill at first proposing that 25% of all our public procurement be reserved for our young people.
Yes.
So of the 2 bills, Uhuru called me and he said, Eugene, I like this bill about the young people because I believe in the empowerment of our young people. This I'm going to support. Even if our wazee might not like it, because they are talking of 10%. Both President Kibaki and Prime Minister Raila say, no, this, we can't allow 25%. We can allow 10% for now. You know what Uhuru told me? He said, we are going to take over. When we do, we will not just reserve 25% for our young people. We're actually going to make it 30%. And I can tell you this today, Uhuru kept his word after he became president. Because I was not in that parliament. But we had legislators, young legislators like Sakaja that we worked with. They took over. And Uhuru kept his word. He actually assented to that bill, creating AGPO, access to government procurement for young people. And this is one area that we have not really focused on, because what are we talking about? We're talking about 200 billion worth of procurement opportunities for our young people. But what we need to do now is to improve on the access in terms of working with the counties to ensure that every county is held to account by the young people to say, okay, this is your budget. First of all, they must participate in the budget-making process. The Constitution gives them the power. Then to engage the governor to say, this year, what have you set aside for us? Then at the end, they must also be able to tick and say, in this and that, how much went to the young people, to the women, to persons with disability. If we're just able to improve access. In fact, hii mambo ya kusema watu ende kwa mjengo ati housing, watu ende wabebe wheelbarrow, if we are able to just empower young people through access to those procurement in every county, and they were able to meet that threshold in every ministry in the national government, if we're able to just crack down on the ministers to ensure young people are given those opportunities, you will see an empowered youth population in our country. You will see empowered women and persons with disabilities. So in terms of Uhuru listening, he's a good listener. But better still in terms of picking ideas. That is one area I worked with him and I could see. But also when he disagreed with you, with an idea, he would also call you and tell you. Aliniambia hii ya wazee, wachana nayo kwa sasa. Hii ya ku amend the Retirement Benefits Act. And I dropped it. Something came up on a GMO. I think, was it Ruto who had raised it? When we he would say, no, hii mambo ya GMO. Not in my, he refused mambo ya GMO.
So
nyinyi mkiunda serikali yenu, Mumulete hiyo mambo ya GMO.
So
and surely one of the first approvals that were made by the Ruto regime was GMO. But Uhuru would listen, but he would also be upfront with you when he liked your idea and also when he disagreed with it. So I think that is one difference I saw.
Yeah.
And when Uhuru gave you a ministry to run, he would allow you to run the ministry. He would never interfere. And this is one thing I saw with Kibaki also. When Kibaki gave you a ministry to run, he would allow you to run your ministry. He would never interfere. But the current regime, I think we see a lot of micromanaging. This is one of the issues that have become very self-evident. Yes.
Okay. And when we talk about the Uhuru regime, of course, we talk about the infamous, we lose 2 billion shillings daily.
Yes.
How true was that? And why did he feel powerless?
I think, as I've said, if we were to tighten or seal the loopholes, we lose almost a third of our budget to just corruption. So if you're talking of 30% over 3 trillion or 4 trillion, that's a lot of money. If you are to divide that, it will come down to almost 2 billion that we are losing.
And why can't a president stop it? Because I'm thinking.
Yes, it's not about the president. It's about Kenya as a country saying no to corruption. And it's a culture we must inculcate in our people because through successive regimes, corruption has become almost a normal thing. Yani wanasema hii mali ya umma ni mali ya kuuma. Kila mtu anauma tu.
Yeah.
So mali ya umma ni mali ya kuuma. It shouldn't be that way. It should be mali ya umma ni mali ya umma wa Kenya, sio ya kuuma na unaenda nayo. You must guard it for the people of Kenya.
Yeah.
And we must declare any corrupt individual an enemy of the people of Kenya. We need to strengthen our laws against corruption and tighten in terms of control and also give more teeth to the institutions. Like the EACC has been talking about being given prosecutorial powers.
Yeah.
Of course, there are a lot of people who are opposed to that. But going into the future, we need to see how to strengthen EACC. We need to strengthen DCI. We need to strengthen all our institutions and respect and uphold our constitution. That's all we need to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the infamous Samsung story, I don't know if you've ever heard it. The Samsung was supposed to start, was it an assembly plant here in Kenya?
Yes.
But then one of the CSs wanted a bribe, I think of 10 billion shillings. And then Samsung were like, no, we can't do that. And that's how we ended up losing on that. And if that's true, how many lives could have changed with Samsung just being here? And
I think that is just going back to the story of corruption. That has been.
So is there any truth to that? Samsung?
Yes, there is a lot of truth. And it's not just Samsung. We've lost a lot of investors who have gone to other countries because they've come here and been asked ridiculous amounts of money. Just recently, America censored Kenya in spite of Ruto being their blue-eyed boy.
Yeah.
I mean, you remember in May, just as he was preparing to go to Washington, there was a high-powered American delegation and a very senior American official in the State Department of Trade. They issued a statement and said, Bwana Ruto and his government have to stop this corruption because they were making very unrealistic demands on investors. People demanding for, bribes before this is done, before that is done. To me, that was a very strong indictment on this current administration. So, unless we're able to check that, we'll continue losing investors to other countries, and also the issue of the tax regime that is very unpredictable. You change this today, you change that tomorrow. I mean, a lot of investors will just go away, go to Rwanda and other areas where the environment is more conducive. So that taxation regime, that unstable policy environment and corruption is costing Kenya a lot in terms of investments. Yes.
Okay. And because talking of that, I want us to talk about what happened before this government of national unity. But like one of the things I remember I saw when the new nominees were put out there, is Ken Mijungu made a joke and said that Mbadi is going to notice that he cannot get access to the president unless he goes through Farouk Kibet. So during Uhuru's time, there was no a Farouk. There was no someone who was so powerful and not powerful at the same time. Because I've even seen footage of Farouk in a military plane. So I don't know how true that is.
I think to be fair to Farouk, right? Because I know Farouk.
Yeah.
Like I said, when we started this journey, we started together with Ruto and Uhuru. And actually, Farouk is a very nice guy. He's a guy who hasn't gone to school much. He doesn't have those diplomas and degrees and masters and whatever, but he's a very sharp guy.
Okay.
Ile unasikia akili ya kuzaliwa. He's a very smart guy, but also he's a very loyal guy. He's been very loyal to William from the days when I think he was a councillor in Eldred.
Yeah.
And they've stayed together with William when he was the Eldred North MP, and through the ministries up to where he's gotten. And we worked together with him very closely, with Ruto as deputy. So I think in every regime, there will always be a Farouk.
Okay.
The president's man, the president's shadow, the confidant. I think that is what Farouk is. And you cannot say you can eliminate such people in any administration. Yeah, every president would have his wingman.
Okay, but now the question would be, why are the president's men mostly questionable education? Because we had, I don't know if you saw Sudi on Obina's show, and he was there like, hey, masomo, yani mtu a degree. Like he made a degree look like something someone should be ashamed of.
Yes.
So how do you feel like the president loves surrounding himself with, because you can be street smart.
I think it is just not about education. It's about loyalty. In politics,
loyalty is everything.
I think loyalty counts, because these are fellows who can make or break you. And these are fellows who can also be used against. I mean, you have many presidents who have been killed by their very close assistants, bodyguards. So I think when it comes to Ruto and Farouk, I think they go way back.
Yeah.
Wametoka mbali, and it's not so much education. It's about loyalty. It's about delivery. It's about agility. And I think give it to him. He's a good organizer, good mobilizer, and he's also a strategist.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, Farouk.
Yes, and he would. He's also very upfront. He would tell you. He speak his mind, even to Ruto. Even there are times they would disagree, but hey, boss, up.
Oh, okay.
He will tell you as it is. So I think it's much more than education when it comes to real politics.
Okay, yes. That makes sense. And because you've talked about telling Ruto the truth. This infamous story that Ruto at some point wanted to slap Uhuru, how true is it? After the 2017 elections?
And he said it himself. He
So,
said it himself.
What was happening?
Because I think there was a time Uhuru almost gave up. And Ruto...
This is after the 2017 elections?
Yes, and Ruto said it himself after the Court of Appeal, throughout the... Uhuru was furious, actually.
The Supreme Court.
Yes, he was furious. Yes, and I think Ruto said it himself that I almost slapped him, and I think that is one thing that came from his mouth. I don't think it's propaganda.
Oh, okay. And then now,